Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased and delighted to welcome someone from our community here in Berlin by the names of Sasha. Stephen, my name's from Chiroto Concerts. And the purpose of this interview is going to be to help enlighten, give you more insights about the vocational training in the field of early childhood development, or what we call Ausbildung zur Erzieher. So I would like to spend no further time explaining, but to give Sasha a chance to introduce herself, tell us a little bit about who she is, and then we'll go into more questions. Sasha.
Thank you. I am called Sasha Specioza. I am a Ugandan living in Berlin, Germany, and I'm currently doing an Ausbildung in early childhood development. Which is 3 years, and I'm currently in my second year. So that means 1 more year to go, and I will be done.
Wow, it's crazy how time flies so fast. So
Yeah,
can't imagine just
yeah.
some period back ago when we were just trying to do this application.
And then
Yeah.
now it's, yeah.
Yeah. So Sasha, tell me what inspired you to pursue the vocational training in early childhood development, and why Germany?
Okay. What inspired me is I came as an au pair from Uganda to Berlin. That was the easiest chance that I would find at that time. So I went for it. So I came as an au pair, and an au pair, you're taking care of children. It's an exchange program that lasts 1 year. So you come and find a host family, and they have children, young babies. For example, in my family, they only had one child who was, the time I came, she was 8 months.
Mm.
So I started taking care of her, and yeah, I just liked it. I just thought like, okay, this is something I can actually do. So
Mm.
when I asked my host family, and they told me, yes, we can do research about it, and if you want it, you can go for it.
Mm.
And that's how I ended up going for it, because if in this 1 year event that I was an au pair, taking care of this one child would get like other kids from their friends, from their family, and they would come over. And it was fun. Like it was just fun having kids around. And
Mm.
I decided I can actually do it in a more professional way.
Mm.
And that's how I ended up pursuing this. And so far, so good. I really like it. It's going down well.
Very good, very good. I'm happy
Yeah.
to hear that. So you have already been into this program now, 1 year left to go.
Yeah.
Did you see any differences between the approach of learning, the approach of early childhood development between Germany and Uganda?
A lot. Actually, the difference is crazy. It's huge. It's such a huge difference because in Uganda, my mom actually owns a school, a
Mm.
private school, which is like a community school. And in my Form 6 vacation, I was teaching there. But it's so different. For example, in the hugest difference that I've realized is we were more, as a teacher back then in Uganda, in a kindergarten, we were more of how are kids performing. They need to learn to speak English. They need to learn how to write at least their names. They need, like, it was more of what are they doing? What can they learn? It was more of teaching.
Mm.
And I get here, and it's so different. Here in kindergarten, they don't teach. They just upbring. You're just upbringing a child. You're just, helping a child realize themselves, find themselves. What are their interests? And
Mm.
then you work towards their interests.
Mm.
Do they like painting? Do they like dancing? Do they just like what do they like playing with? And then you work towards that.
Mm.
But then in Uganda, there's nothing like that. There is already a curriculum that you have to follow. There is math, this. So you follow that. It
Mm.
every day like that, every day, every day. And there is also like a timetable. Today
Mm.
you're doing math, after this you're doing this, after this you're doing this, which is different here. Here, if
They
a
are
child says,
basically young adults.
yeah, exactly,
Mm,
exactly.
mm,
So it's so different. And here it's more like you listen,
mm,
you talk to the child. What do you want? What do you like playing with? What do you like to do today?
mm,
And listen to them, and you work towards their interests. And I find it amazing. It's
mm.
really, really, really interesting. Yeah.
Very interesting. Now, to catch on to that question, can you describe the typical day of your school when you start your day? And I understand it's also partly working and studying, right?
Yes.
Can you describe to someone who does not know anything about this Ausbildung, this vocational system, how does it work?
Okay. Like I said, it's a 3-year course, and you have, out of 5 days, from Monday to Friday, you have 2 days school,
Mm,
and then you have 3 days where you're going to work.
mm,
So for the 2 days, in my case, different schools do it differently, but in my case, with my school, Monday, Tuesday, we are going to school, and our day starts at 8:15 in the morning AM, and it ends at 3:30. So classes run from 8:15 AM to 3:30 PM in the afternoon.
right.
And that is Monday and Tuesday.
Mhm.
And
And
then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it's work. So you actually have a chance to practice what you study.
mm,
And
okay,
then for the 3 days, for the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, my day starts at 8 and ends at 4:30 p.m.
right.
Yeah.
So the point when you go to work, do you find any discrepancies or differences from what you learn in school and the real practice world?
Not really. Not really. We actually get to practice what we learn. It's just the same. It's just that the other side you're in class learning, and now this side you're in the field working. But you get to apply exactly what you learned from school. So it's more practical.
Right.
Yeah.
And for the period now you've been doing this in the theory and the practice, what are some of the key challenges you've experienced and maybe some ideas on how you've managed to overcome for someone else who might be thinking of taking the same path like you?
Wow, the biggest challenge is the language. Wow, it's crazy. It's
Mm,
been a roller coaster of, oh my God. And my school is a German school,
mm,
so there are more Germans than Ausländers. And of course, like when it's your language, you speak like super, super fast. And
mm,
I'm always thinking like, am I really getting this? Did I really understand what I said? So I'm always asking, like, can you please repeat for me? Can you please speak a little bit slowly?
mm,
So yeah, the language barrier has been such a great challenge.
mm,
But the teachers are so helpful, the students are so helpful and so understanding, like they understand this is not my language. So
mm,
they never have a problem when I say, can you speak a little bit slowly? Or can
mm,
you say again what you said? Or sometimes they let me use my phone in class, like to translate something, like if there is a word I didn't understand very well. And sometimes they
mm,
cannot also explain it in English.
mm,
Some words they don't know. They're like, Sasha, just check that. Just translate that with your phone. And
mm,
yeah, so I also have that opportunity, and it has really helped.
mm.
And other than the language, there is also that culture differences. Sometimes, like when we are learning about something and like about families, and I say, but I thought it's supposed to be like this, and they're like, no, but it's like this and this, and I'm like, okay. So me, I thought it was like this. So there is this picture of what I know, and then there is this picture of what they know. So sometimes I'm clashing a little bit, but I'm open to learning. So I always find a way to
Yeah.
come in the middle.
Speaking of
Yeah.
language, when you say the challenge of language, is it just the understanding? or could also be the written part when it comes now to expressing yourself? Could it be more of the interaction later on when you go to practice with the kids? Where do you find it hard the most?
In school, I find it more hard in school because like the text, we have like the textbooks that we have to read, the theories, they are a little bit complicated. Like it's a little bit complicated German
Mm,
because we have like textbooks that were written, I don't know, 100 years ago,
mm,
but the theories are still relevant and we still use them up to now. So the German back then was really hard, I think, compared to the German now.
mm,
And generally, like schoolwork is a little bit complicated. Like it's more professional speaking and the writings. So it's a little bit complicated.
mm,
But at work, I work with children,
mm,
and these are children that are learning to talk. So
mm,
their German is more easier. It's more easier. I can say at work, I don't have I don't really think I have so much challenges with the language. The kids
mm,
speak easy German. It's easy for me to understand. It's easy for me
mm,
to explain to them. And also with children, they don't need so much explanation. I mean,
mm,
he's going to tell you, I want to play. I want to play with this. So you just
mm,
get what they want. You explain a little bit how to go about it.
mm.
Like with work, it's really convenient. I've not had such a huge challenge with the language, but it's only with school.
Very interesting. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. And
No.
so you've touched a little bit on my next question, which would be the cultural background. And you have a certain background and an upbringing. You know, our the way they say our upbringing is sometimes tough love, right? And how do you match that with what you've learned here? And how does that prepare you actually to deal with the current training and the interaction with the kids here?
Wow, that's such an interesting question. And uh, I can tell you,
Mm,
I've struggled. I think I'm now getting better. I'm getting there because it's been 2 years down the road,
mm,
but it has really been a struggle
mm,
with the cultural upbringing. For example, I am the firstborn, like I'm the elder child at home. I have 7 siblings. So I have 6 young sisters and one
mm,
brother.
mm.
So I have grown up to be in charge. Like when you're the first child in Uganda, in Africa, it's like you're another parent.
Right.
So my mom gave me all the authority. If a
Mm,
child doesn't do what they have to do, like you can, I mean, shout at them or do this. You have to do this. Why didn't you do this? Go do that. Go do that. Like I'm more authoritative, and that's how
mm,
I've grown up.
mm,
And even the schools that I've gone to, I mean, in my kindergarten, in my primary school back in Uganda, it was more of their rules, and you have to follow them. And if you don't follow them, you suffer the consequences. Like you get punished if you don't do what you're supposed to do. And
mm,
there is no debate, there is no nothing.
mm,
And then I came here with that mentality because that's all I knew.
mm,
And then I get here and then I go to the kindergarten and it's different. I mean, you need to sit down and talk to the child. For example, you're going to say where it's snowing, it's cold, it's winter. We need to go out and play and have some fresh air. And you tell a child you need to put on a winter jacket, you need to put on a scarf, all that. And the
mm.
child says, no, I don't want. I don't want to put on a winter jacket. But
So,
why? Because I don't want. And if it was me back then, I don't have time to discuss that. You have to put on a winter jacket. Punkt.
mm,
But then here you have to sit down with a child and explain the reasons why it's important to have a winter jacket,
mm,
why they cannot go out, and give them all the time they need to think about it and accept it.
mm,
Like you need the grace, the patience.
mm.
Oh God, it's
And you don't only have
I've
one
struggled.
child, you have several.
Thank you. You have several. For example, in my group, we have 23 kids and we are two.
Mm.
So meaning you're not going to have to be with one child. But again, you don't have to rush this child and make them feel like you're forcing them to do what they don't want to do. They have their right, and you need to give them the time to, to go through that, to get it into their head that it's important to put on a winter jacket. And you have to also watch out the other kids.
Mm.
So I didn't have that patience in the beginning, and I was struggling, and I would end up raising my voice, and they would keep telling Sasha, you don't have to do that. But my boss was so understanding because I explained where I come from, how
Mm.
things work. So
Right.
every time I crossed the line, she would be like, Sasha, 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 please.
Mm.
So I'm getting there. That's what I can say. But my upbringing has really affected me.
Mm. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, because that is one of the challenges I think everyone would be struggling with. And it's also a reminder to anyone who is interested in venturing into this profession to know how culture upbringing and background can affect your interaction. But
Yeah.
looking at it from the positive sense also, it helps you to be more understanding because we have a certain level
Exactly.
of patience that was
Mm-hmm.
taught to us.
Mm,
And also, if there are certain skills that you can bring to table and cultural background, which you bring, because I'm also looking at that uniqueness, what you're teaching them, the culture and the experience, things that they have never been used to, the improvisation and the happiness that we are taught to be grateful for some small things that probably they are not.
exactly.
So I guess that is also something they learn from you a lot, right?
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
And saying the gratefulness, one
Mm.
thing I realized is, for example, in our kindergarten, kids
Mm.
don't like eating, and they prepare good meals, hot meals, fresh meals. There are always plenty of fruits. There is there is always so much food, and kids just don't like to eat. And I'm always telling them, can you please eat? Like, can you be grateful that there is food? Like there are people out there who don't have food, and that's one thing that the parents have really appreciated, because children go back home and tell their parents. Sasha is always telling us to eat. She even told us there are some kids who cannot afford getting one meal a day. We don't have to throw food, and yeah. So
While you're at school, I guess you're learning some methods, some new ways of teaching, new ways of imparting skills. For someone who does not know so much about that, what is it that you've learned so far?
um, one is listening to the child.
Mhm.
Listen to these children. It doesn't matter the age, as long as they can communicate, they can talk. Most of the times, they always know what they want, and you cannot just guess, because you're an adult and you're going to think, this child is 4 years, he should be doing this and this and this. No, it's more, I've learned to listen to children, have a discussion with them, explain things in a more simple way so that they can understand, and listen to them when they tell you, when they're sharing what they want, what they feel, and what is in their interest. And that has really been a great skill. And also encouraging kids, like, it doesn't matter if you think, ah for example, he's a boy, he should be doing this, she's a girl, she should be doing this. No, just encourage what it doesn't matter the sex, just encourage the child. If they say this is my interest, encourage them to pursue it.
Right. And going back to the motivation and inspiration, what is it that you see yourself after, let's say, in the next 2 to 3 years? How do you intend to use this knowledge and the skills
Here in German or back home?
wherever you see yourself using those skills?
I actually um see myself going back home, that's for sure. Because not because our education, our early childhood education back home is bad. No, it's just because it's different, and there are things that I've learned here that I've appreciated that I really find important, and I think, okay, I can go back home and introduce these skills to them, and bring something new, share something new that I've learned that I find important, that I find interesting. So I see myself going back home and introducing the skills that I've learned here. Like, for example, like I said, having the child share what they want, their interests, what path do they want to take, and all that. Not focusing more on grades, like what was the end term results? Let me see your report card. No, like focusing more on childhood development than actually goals. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. And for someone who is very interested in starting or applying for this kind of program, can you tell them a few steps that you took to apply?
Yes. Like I said, I come from Uganda, so as a Ugandan, I could not use my Ugandan documents to apply for school here for house building. So the first thing I did is I got my Ugandan documents and took them to the notar, who certified them and said, yes, these are original documents from Uganda. And then from there, I sent them to Zenat in the Department of Education, where they recognize your documents, your Ugandan documents, and so they give you the equivalent education or level in the German system.
Right.
And so it's that you use now to apply for Ausbildung. And on top of that, you should be able to speak and have a certificate that actually proves that you can speak German language. And it's more of B1 and B2.
Right.
Sometimes B1, sometimes B2.
Right. I
And then
understand
you're
that
good to go.
in your school, there is also a chance to proceed and do more academic studies or combine.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So if you had A levels in Uganda, it's possible that you can also continue maybe to a bachelor's degree and so on.
Exactly, and I'm doing that. I am done. When I get done with a 3-year Ausbildung, I'm going to do the bachelor's, and it's actually 2 years because initially a bachelor is 3 years. But once you've done the 3-year course, the ART Ausbildung, then you get an opportunity to do bachelor's for only 2 years. And then after that, you can do your master's.
Great. And I'm sure you'll go as far as master's. So what's your most memorable moment in the last 2 years or even prior to that? I remember there's that time when we met when you're applying and you're so stressed up and time is running. So you have gone through all these phases. What is it that you say, this was that moment where I cannot forget?
Wow, I have a quite few moments, but the outstanding one is actually that day I went in class, like the very first day, the very first day. I was like, wow, it was like a dream come true. After all the stress that I'd gone through with the application and all that, and finally here I was. Like it was real, like I was in class with the kids. I was like, oh my God. And they just told me, Sasha, you're welcome to the team. You're now part of us. It is something that I still hold on to that I just cannot forget. Seeing myself in front of, all these white kids and introducing myself as I'm going to be your ART was amazing. It was
Nice.
amazing. Yeah.
Great. So, Sasha, thank you so much. It was really amazing learning much about your progress and your future plans. I wish you all the best of luck. And
Thank you.
we'll definitely hear from you maybe after your graduation and follow you up, probably follow up your school in Uganda.
Yeah.
We wish you good luck. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too. You're welcome.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.